Okay. No, not yet. Okay. Yes, I'm gonna live. Okay, we are live. Let's see whether it's live. Okay, we are live now. I'm gonna show everyone. Right, there are some people. It's a real meetup, not just me. Okay. Okay, welcome to the June's. Oh, it's not 20. It's not 30. Damn. Okay, let me edit it. Okay. It's powered by Go as well. It's 25th. So okay, 25th. What? Really? Okay. Okay. Current version is 1.12.6, and 1.13 is going to be arrive around August. So check them out. First corner, as usual. We're gonna cover what's new going on in the Go world or the golfer world. So we have a Go. I don't know how to pronounce this. Go Open PGP from Protomail. Do you guys know what is Protomail? Protomail is actually a free encrypted by default. I mean, it's a free mail service that encrypts your email by default in GPG or P. Yep. So it's a Golang library.
What Snowden was using? Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Huh? Yeah, Snowden.
Protomail, good stuff.
Using now lah.
Yeah. Now lah. The old one was taken down. So and new one, just in case you didn't know, Golang actually for the damn, what is this? Okay, I got the URL wrong, so it's fine. I need to put in HTTPS next time. So for the new golfer in Golang, there's actually this thing called Go Playground where you can actually play with programs and stuff. You don't actually, to start writing Go, you actually don't need to set up your machine to do it. You can just use this to test it out. Oh, okay. Okay, good reminder. Okay, make it bigger as well. Oh, okay. Okay, so this actually arrived, just updated recently, that they added third-party library support via this, and yeah, you can have multiple files for the same Go Playground instance, which I don't know how it works. So check it out.
How does this compare to wrapping?
REPL.
Okay, REPL.
Yeah. Check it out.
This one doesn't support the party.
Yeah.
This is official. That one. So command-time dependency injection library from Google called Wire. So if you like, some people like their DI. So if you like, check it out. It's from Google. So I suppose it's in a way pretty, yeah, from official, not necessary. Google likes to kill their own product.
What are the use cases for the dependency?
Testing, mainly testing. A lot of people use it too.
If you're doing more complicated,
Yep.
if it's not so complicated, you can just just have a matching interface or whatever.
Yep. Yep. So
I think this one was based on their experience with the Java version. Java version equivalent to this.
yeah.
Where it gets a bit more messy and you can talk about it.
Okay. So that's about it. Any new thing to share?
Go please.
Huh? Go please. Oh, Go please. It's up on your RAM. Oh, Go please. Go please. Yes, it is pronounced as Go please. So in before anybody try to correct me, it's actually a language server that is if you use like VS Code, it's a one, what you call it? It's a package, all-in-one package for your editor experience. So previously you have to install like Go code for autocomplete, Go return to do this, then Guru for checking out for the function signature. So now you have Go Please, but I think it's still pretty new. My experience with it is it actually eats out your RAM and CPU. So
Thanks a lot.
yep, and you always need to restart your editor. Yeah. See, so it's not stable. Want you?
So then you have to choose it in your VS Code.
Yeah, you have to choose it yourself.
It's not fully integrated.
It's not fully integrated. It's fully integrated, but it's not enabled by default. So
because there are certain use cases,
yep.
especially for me, is that even though I know I have not finished completing my function, for instance, I out of habit I just save it, and if you save it, there's a lot of weird things like misspellings. You know the misspellings. Go please tends to try to ask the file and then it causes a lot of
Yep.
it is some bit of a habit that you get used to, so that you don't force it to run all the time. And yeah, it just takes up a lot more CPU. But if you have a lot of dependencies and a lot of large packages, I feel that Go Please is better at handling those things.
So it's much more easier in Emacs. Much more easier than other setup. Like previously for this, you have to set up this and that.
Yeah, I mean, it standardized all the, because in Singapore, they were showing this, so they got like 20 tools running in the background.
Yep.
Each time when you press save, it will run all these different binaries about them, doing repeated things. So.
Yep. But, okay. Next, we're gonna be my talk. It's actually I renamed it. So it is called, where is that? Different phases of Java as JSON processing. It's actually not the tips and tricks. It's actually different ways of processing JSON in Golang. So what's the problem with processing JSON in Golang? The complaint is because Golang is actually a static type language, but it doesn't come with as usual, no generics. I think I have to like everybody needs to mention it every single time. And sometimes in especially not newer projects, I hope, but in actually handling legacy kind of code, we have a lot of arbitrary JSON for a same endpoint, or it receives a lot of different, like one endpoint that accepts different kind of JSON. So normally we cheat it with interface as a catch-all, but the problem with interface is first, it's very painful to use. You have to check the type, and then you need to handle them manually. So another one is interface will escape your compiler check. So that because all this type is actually being handled on the runtime, so the compiler doesn't know like whether you have a right or wrong program. So because you pass it something, because this is everything matches this. So and also just
Only for empty interface, right?
Yep, empty interface. Empty interface is like by default interface has a certain contract of function. So this, to explain this is like interface that is empty, so it catch all basically. So basically everything can fulfill like basically catch all of this. So normally we use it as any type, but it is very painful to use. And also there's not a big deal for encoding. So you have a native Golang object. If you want to encode it to a byte or string, it's actually anything that you provide, including interface, dump it all, and you encode it just nice. But decoding is not. Means that loading the string into a native memory object is much more harder than encoding. Encoding is very easy. If it's one way, you can just throw whatever in, and you encode just fine. So my question is for those that needs to use arbitrary JSON document, how do you document your API? Like if it's really arbitrary. So especially like in something like Open API, because they expect you to have this and that. So if that's so, like probably GraphQL might be the better choice if you want one endpoint for a lot of different types of document communication. But underneath the resolver is still a static thing. So if you have something that identify what the document is, I'm gonna show you afterwards. That is actually pretty easily solved under Golang. So by default, This is not related to JSON. This is how we normally handle interface. So we have a function that accepts all the types. So here is how we normally need to, in all the codes you have to do this. So in order to make it back to, let's say, integer, you have to cast it like, let's say x full equal to I, then cast it back to int, so string. But if you forget to define that, you actually lose out the opportunity to actually or miss out how to manage it lah. So let me run it. So I provided, the first one is I provide the integer, the second one is string, the third one is actually a string slice, but because I didn't handle it here, so it doesn't know how to handle it. So especially if you, it's very dangerous because if you accept interface, you accept all. But let's say some user, I put in a struct in there, I expect it to work. But of course, during the compiler, it still work. But here, it doesn't know how to handle it. So you need every single time, like you need to run your program. Oh, it doesn't work. So I need to update my program again until it works. So that is what I meant by using interface to do a like catch all kind. Any type is actually very painful, and you have to do it every single time. So getting started, very simple one. We have a simple JSON document. Fortunately, this is just of course, all the keys are string, and the value is actually a string. So we can have a map with a key string, we have string key and a string value. So this is very simple. We can easily unmarshal it. Means so we get it back in full. However, this is very simple. However, if we have a different type, we have a count, but this one has an integer. So we still accept string and string only. You see, you see my program can run, means that it passed the compiler, but the runtime doesn't know how to do it. So it cannot unmarshal number into, this is an integer, into a string. So you just crash. But of course you have an error, that's why I crashed, because I call panic. So what we normally do is, key is always string, that is for granted, but for the value part, we use interface. So, and of course you work, count, 10, message hello world, but of course you have to, then you need to figure out what type it is, which you have to go back to here to check what the type is, and then handle it as you liked. So, yep. Back to interface. This is how we normally do it for most of the cases. Of course, if you are going to encode M, you can of course have this, and I can put whatever data I have into that, and you can encode, because encoding is actually very generous. Decoding is not. So to pass it back to a memory is actually much more harder. Easy if you don't need to use it, but if you want to know what it is, what if inside here is a nested JSON object? So you're gonna check like whether it's a map, then map, then you get into the, whether it's a map again, whether it's a map again, whether it's a map again. Yep. And the worst one is you have a slice of maps. you can imagine the length of the checks like until it doesn't even fit into the screen. So but in most cases this is just enough for for simple key and value storage. But of course you can actually write your magical function to handle, like do the casting on your own, but that is assumed. In this example, is most of these examples are assuming that we use it naively. So problem. See, this is how we, after we marshal it, we have to check the type again. This is string. You see, however, this is an integer. We assume that it will be actually, when we unmarshal it, it will be integer, right? in this case, in Golang, integer means that it's a 32-bit integer. But when you run it, this is int is actually 32. Yeah, 64 is 64. So if I remember correctly, I have to check. But you see, this is string. This is fine. But why this isn't integer? Because when you cast it, when you put in an interface, it will always, when you actually decode it, it will always find the lowest denominator. Means this is like the, if I have 10, this is like probably int 4, something like that. So it doesn't do your math. So now you have another issue. You have to find all the integer denominator. 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, you in 4. So, yep. But of course, you can force, afterwards I'll show you how to handle in general numbers. There are actually ways to do it. Tips. And there is, from the standard library, there are two types. Number token, and the other one is separator, but I'm not going to cover that. Number is actually a catch-all for all the number, for floats and all the integer types. So you can, but you still have to know how to cast it back lah. You still have to find out what this is. So let's run it. But you see, when I do a printout, actually internally it is stored as a string. I mean, it has a toString lah. So it's a catch-all. It actually, in a way, it solves this issue of capturing different type. Let's say sometimes, especially coming from like JavaScript, you can easily have a same field that is integer and also float, right? So to capture all of them, the helper class that you can use is JSON number. So I'm gonna show you the link as well. Number is something that represents C, but underneath it's actually just string. So you still need to process it. So if I click it, also tips for the new Go people, when you click it, you can see the function. Actually, what underneath is actually does it for you. It's actually very silly. But it's a way to actually allows you to have more than one type for that you definitely that is number type. So token is actually catch-all for all the what you call it, the basic type lah. Only for this lah, catch-all. Might be useful, but that is how we can easily determine whether it is a complex type like a map or struct and something lah, with others. Not gonna be too useful. So my favorite way is always decode it into a struct, because you can have member functions. You can have also nice autocomplete for all the keys. You don't have a typo that, let's say in a map, oh, if I type it as a count as a without a T, then it doesn't work. So we don't have that issue because this is static. But however, this is also the problem is this is static. It works very nicely. See, I can just call it and I can get the message. But it also means that it only accepts what is already defined here. So how do we handle this? In this, so tell me if I'm going too fast. We have another problem. So we have two types. We have two JSON documents. These are the same: message, count, shape type, and shape. You notice that this is radius, this because it's a circle, but this is actually a square. Have different field. But I'm gonna do this, then I have to do the handling again. So there's actually a tips for it. Of course, to do this, of course it works because it's a catch-all for all the key value. This is very useful. There's another type, so the same document. There's another type called, under the standard library as well, it's called a raw message. Put it as it's actually a byte. It means that it is deferred. It's not, it means when you pass it, you actually decode them into this. But for this key, for this field, you will defer that. I'm not gonna process this, but because I have an identifier, so in a way, Of course, there are ways to really, but normally, I don't know how bad the design is without an identifier. You can just accept an arbitrary, like let's say I have a shape, then suddenly I can accept an animal, and also suddenly I can accept a food. But most of the document that we have an identifier, right? No, however different they are. So if you have this, and you have to share this instead of because there's no generic. So, but I need it to be back to circle or square. So here you know how to handle it lah. So according to the no, this is the deferred decoding. So afterwards I have to decode it. So pass shape, we have a function called pass shape. It means that you see we actually pass it the first time, payload A, then we are gonna pass it again to get another one. So this is pass shape. So if you have an identifier, we can do this. Shape type equals circle. Then we can actually, it's actually not rocket science lah. Just identifier. Then you know which struct it can be decoded to. So I think that fits a lot of the use cases if you have an identifier. If you don't have an identifier, also I'm curious, like how do you handle the code? Like, but no, but no identifier. I mean, you don't know what you.
Okay, just out of
like
I found out about open API is that they don't like this sort of types where depending on the field, the value of certain fields, in this case, the shape type, that you actually return either an object with radius or an object.
No, it actually accepts. I did it. Official.
The open API doesn't like.
No.
Swagger open API.
Oh. Yep. Three has generics. Damn it. Three really has a generic type, so you can do like this or this or this in three. So but I think because Zoo is the one that actually curious about this, I think this is the rest afterwards are very messy, but this, if possible, try to stick with this method. That's why like reflect can be really messy. I'll show you. Also tips for the seasoned Golang people, probably you know, but if you have different type, you want them to be under a document, but they don't have a really conflicting key like fields, like let's say these field names are not conflicting, you can actually put them together. This is sort of like in OO sense, it's like inheriting from both of them. So you actually, when I do a pointer like this, it means that radius, color, title, and content can be accessible at the same level. So if you have to put it something like this, we also sometimes use it to, let's say we have a different kind of response type, but we have a certain static, like let's say status and status message. So sometimes we did it that way, like, oh, the status message is actually this, then we expand this, then we can put in afterwards, we can put in more fields that we want. But this will be expanded here. So you work, hello, let's say this is the document that have a title and content, which is the message, but also have a circle. You can be passed. And you see this is the representation within the memory. So in circle, this is now, but message, I have all of them. But this is a pointer. So when I access the key, I get hello. But be careful when
what happens with the color there? I'm actually trying.
Color.
So the data in the first line,
yeah.
Can you include color?
Oh, here. Sure. Let me try it.
You know, you can just make it like
What?
you can make the particular text you can actually edit this if you give it to
I don't know how to do that. Okay.
There's certain settings in the full present where you can just edit the code in the presentation.
JSON, and I have codes. Which codes? This is called, I forgot what's this called, because this is how I name my slides. I name them like interface example 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the title is Let's Try It Works. Let's Try It Works. It's called a tree headache. So we have a document of this. Let's say color equal to rate. Right. So we have this. We're gonna run it. Yeah, we have one. But let's say I want to access radius. Let's say I'm gonna access radius. So I need to be really careful not to kill the terminal. Okay, let me access the radius 0. So unlike that you have to handle like combine circle, you can actually access them the old ways, combine dot circle, but by itself when you do a pointer like this, it's actually going to be expanded. So you can access them at the top level. So tips, this one can be used. Probably can handle most of the cases. Try not to use, I'm not going to advise against using reflect because reflection actually escape all the, because everything is totally in the runtime. So testing it is, you need to test it properly. You need to make sure it handles all the cases, but let's show it. We really want it. So what's the special about this? I forgot. Oh. Hey. Oh, I should keep it back. Okay. Tips. If you really want it. I think this is a wrong example that I played. Not this. Oh, this is the first step. This is the first step. I also forgot like this. I can actually pass it first. Then I use reflect to build my own strut for the fly. So this is just a reference for me. So you can actually have it in one process instead of a multiple one, but to make it simpler, I actually gonna pass it one time first into map interface. Then from here, you see I have a struct field. I'm gonna build a struct. So this is actually a slice of a struct field. So I'm gonna build the slide of a key as the title, value, the type of value. Then I'm gonna build the struct. But also with this logic, you can actually, if you really want to make sure that you always gonna put your decoded data into a struct, really arbitrary one that cannot be solved by any of this. You can use it to determine, go through another struct object and go through to check whether this key and value type are the same. Then you're gonna put it into that build the struct type. So this is building a struct within the runtime. I didn't define this at all. So this is a new struct that I created with the fields that I have, even with a tag, nice tag. So I actually created a arbitrary struct, very nice. It's very evil and also it's very dangerous because it escapes. It's in the runtime, so it escaped the compiler. This is the alternative. Let's try to stick it to raw message and this if possible. But this is just an example of I'm building a struct, but you can use it to check against. Probably you have if it's really messed up, like it can be like one struct. I have a message field as a string. I have another struct. I have a message field as an integer. Then you have to go through at the struct and check out where is that what, and you put it back into a struct if you really want it to be a struct.
is there any way, let's say you have really dirty data in there and you just don't want to, you want to automate at least coming out with a pattern?
Yeah, this is the automated pattern. Yep.
In the end, you can come out like,
Yep.
okay, most of them are here, but then part of them.
I guess you just maybe want to string interface and then just,
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how familiar you guys are passing dirty data from other people that is not you, or other companies or other third parties. Is that sometimes, like for instance, those people in Python, I'm serializing a JSON string with using single quotes instead of double quotes. Have you tried that in Python? It will complain about. You have to use what was it?
Some people write their own parser.
Yes. No, not parser.
No, parser. The encoder.
Encoder. Yes.
So you have really messed up. You have CSV encoder. They come up with not properly delimited or escape value. You have, yeah.
So most of our time is right.
You have JSON with single quote.
So we need a beautiful soup for
I don't understand why.
It's just so
This is actually Reflex actually allows you to do type construction in the runtime. So you can come up if you really want arbitrary channel. If you want to spawn channel on the fly, how many channels and stuff, how many receiver and stuff. Check out Reflect. I think that some of the examples are pretty good, but this is how you build a struct on the fly. But the downside is this actually doesn't allow you to access the member like that, because it's not the same struct. It's just where it looks nice, or probably you can use it to, I don't know, cast it back to its closest cousin or whatever.
And on curiosity, if you're actually doing this, can you actually re-marshal it back to the exact same data? If you manage to marshal it with your new struct,
Yeah.
if you marshal it, do you get back the original? Or nearly enough to the original?
I think it's you get back to the original, because because when I do this, it actually gets into the proper type already. So integer, it will be integer. And be careful about the one that I showed you just now, is that not just in JSON, even like in certain other decoder like message pack, or some that has a very nice space complexity, they'll try to save on the memory footprint. So when you put in, like, let's say interface and stuff, unless you specified it, they'll always give you the lowest one. So especially I did some message pack before that, and they always use the lowest one. So then you have to do, like, make sure that it's in and stuff.
Is that only for message pack or what?
Message pack has more issue because they try to always save on the, because message space is like,
Oh, because there's no definition.
yeah,
Like
it's,
protocol,
yeah,
they actually have a definition,
yeah.
right?
And message space is closest to JSON. You can just work on the fly, but it encodes the data as a byte instead of string. So they always choose the lowest. So my advice is, it's very simple one. When in doubt, raw message if you know how to handle it, or this.
You miss one trick, the usual trick.
What usual trick?
Normally, is that if you get some JSON data from someone, you do not know how to actually handle this. Oh no, it's such a big JSON, I don't know what data this is. Any arbitrary JSON. Rather than like a type, just coming out the struct or just using interface. Just take a copy of it. Not even the documentation. Go to the website called JSON to struct. Which will,
or you do a code generation.
it will give you a Go struct for you to be able to at least
JSON to go.
JSON to Go.
Yes, I could go.
JSON to Go struct. Space.
And some of the faster, and to save you guys time, some of the faster so-called JSON parser are actually code generated. So it's actually similar to how you do protobuf. It's actually they just analyze your JSON document and generate a maps of them. So of course the processing will be much faster.
This works for more of those complicated nested types of data that you get in the real world sometimes. So you're a lazy guy, copy paste and edit from there.
So say be careful about this though, because for people that are new to to go, let's say title, hello. Especially need to go and they are still working, the API that they serve are still working with other languages, like let's say to the front end to JavaScript. Yes, this is a do not misuse panic. My advice of using panic is only use it in main. So for me, my rules is you cannot use panic in main. So here you see the problem with this is by default this is fine. JSON's tip. Oh. Yeah. This is what I meant. What we meant by we rely on the editor to sometimes format. You're gonna do the import for us. So, oh, not A, it's B. So we get this, and tips and tricks for the beginners. This means public. Lowercase means private. And if you want to do any processing, not just serialize or deserialize, you need it to be public so that the serializer can understand it, can actually access it. And if you do a code generator, you actually have this omit empty. Very dangerous if you use in use with JavaScript and stuff. And if you didn't check on it, is that you see omit empty means that if it's empty, you'll be gone, and very dangerous if it's actually an int. Let's say my value is 0. Let's say nothing. But if my value is 0, it's actually considered empty because integer 0 is default. So if you just be careful about this. So when in doubt, don't use this unless you know what you're doing.
Always
yeah. Yep, that's about it.
When should we use the omit empty?
You don't want. Let's say I have a arbitrary. I'm gonna have a big struct that covers all the fields. Yeah, but I don't want everyone to come up with, like when I do a encoding, I don't want every field to come up with an empty value. And also false is considered default also. But not false. This is bool. So false is considered, this one is still okay. So omit empty, be careful. And especially like, let's say we work with JavaScript and stuff, when you do we expect that this, because we use the dot notation, right? So we expect this exists, it gives you a lot of pain. So be careful about that. Yep, that's about it from me.
Can you go back?
Yep.
Can you just try something?
Yep.
Pointer to boot instead of boot.
There always exists.
So unless it's new
New means
x to false. Of course it will be there.
B.
Hey, type bool. Correct? Oh, damn. False. Of course, but you have to deal with three that's the same discussion we had with Java. So you have to deal with three values, true, false, and now.
You need to have a nullable string from SQL. For this is actually marshalling and unmarshalling to JSON. So sometimes you actually read from your database, SQL databases, where you have to deal with not just empty string or null.
You know what's dangerous? It's not the way of. It's not this way. Going back to string is when I need to unmarshal it. Going back, then I expect it to have a value, but it's a pointer. It's a null. Yeah, you have to check now. It gives you a lot more work. So if you try to access the value of null because it is null, you need to be prepared for error, kind of sort of panic or stuff. Yep, that's about it for me. What should I use? It depends. It definitely depends, but of most of my cases, the map string interface is good enough. But more complex one nowadays, I prefer the raw message method to know if I know what is going on.
So then you can do recursive, so raw, then inside
Yeah.
there you look
Yeah.
for a key and then raw
Yeah.
message.
And also raw message is actually very useful where sometimes we have this, let's say this content as is already serialized, but we still need to construct this, right? Previously we have to make it back, like deserialize it, then put it back, then serialize it again, right? So now you can just put it into that and you don't have to do extra processing on that.
So pretty much leave it raw as long
Yeah.
as possible.
Yeah. I prefer this way.
But then to create a raw message, let's say now you are coding.
Raw message is just a byte. It means that it don't want to process it. Like when you reach here, don't process it.
Okay. And then if you want to save into that, you just have the raw.
Yeah.
Byte.
Yeah.
So very work involved.
Many work involved, but this is a workaround. But of course, you have only one or two types, then you can just use interface, then you do a switch on the type. Depends, that's why it's very up to your use cases. If you're really like all the different types under the sun, then you have a lot of work to do. Yep. The next one is, any question?
So I guess this is only really good for if you wanted to create a function that is agnostic enough that you can handle full type.
Yep.
Right? No, I mean, my understanding is static type kind of programming is you already know what you want to do. Then there's a reason why I have static type to make sure compiler catch everything there, right?
Yep.
So this is only good
This is for
interfacing with people who
Yep.
do not have static types.
Actually, this brought up by a lot of people that actually even us, that when we interface with older programs, they have these issues, especially like from the dynamic type one, we still want to interface with them. So we have the issue of we still have to accept whatever that is, or we want to emulate what is being outputted by the old program. So, but as much as possible, of course, even GraphQL underneath is still static. So as much as possible, static for performance or for whatever purposes. Yeah.
Actually, one important field, what about the date time kind of thing?
Date time very fun. use a pointer. Use a time pointer. The time pointer.
Does JavaScript actually has a native time?
JavaScript can handle Unix epoch.
In JSON, how do you encode time?
Did not pass?
It's string. It's a string. Date string or Unix epoch. But unfortunately, JavaScript doesn't do 64-bit, right? Until it reaches the 64-bit length, then it'll be 58-bit, right? JavaScript is.
Not too sure.
JavaScript has a not so 64-bit kind of a 64-bit integer, so be careful. It beaten us before.
You use like big-in library or something like that?
No, 64. Just not begin, not even begin, just 64-bit. And when it's decoded to encoded to JSON, is every time you get a different value, because JavaScript doesn't do, if I remember correctly, it is 58. It's not 64. Yeah. Yeah. Watch out. So, any more questions? We're actually late by a few minutes. By 20 minutes.
53 bits
Yeah.
precision.
Yeah. Michael is going to show Go paradox. So, you have a, can you plug? Oh, I have to give you an adapter. Oh, you have an adapter. Okay. I want the seat for you. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Where the mic, please?
Anywhere.
Yeah, facing up.
Facing up.
Put it near, close to your neck, facing up.
This?
Face up. Don't touch your skin. You'll be.
Oh.
The spec also.
Can I hang here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright. Hello.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
It depends. Sometimes this works, sometimes doesn't.
Let's see. Pray to the demagogues, then it works.
Okay, it worked. But you actually extended the script.
Okay.
To
Should be fine, I guess. At least you don't see more of my messy folders.
you know, that's why I say your more question. I need to try it before I come out with questions. So basically, that is how I can also manage the nested messages. Like if I have like multi-nested messages, I can do like more people. So that's how you get like KB something. So I need to handle that KB message. Wow. Because it was
The hell, yeah.
turn off the
Which one?
light.
Oh, how in the world did I do that? I have no clue.
I think it's at the
You see the right top.
those are the years are back.
Yeah, right top. Yeah, that
Everyone and posted
this one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get my mouse back.
Top right.
There's actually a stack icon where you can stack all your.
Oh, yeah. This guy?
Make
Oh,
sure
okay.
of papers.
Cool. Yay. Sorry. Alright. Hopefully that's better. It's morning now. Okay. Welcome. So I'm about to share with you about Go Paradox, which is related to our parliamentary documents project. So I'm Michael Liao. On weekends I represent CINA project. I guess today I represent CINA project. So we try to use open data, open technology to empower your citizens to hold your government accountable. And one of our, I guess, core project is parliamentary monitoring, right? So how can you ask intelligent questions to your representative if you don't have the questions or the data to ask it? And actually, as we can see through these projects, most of your member representatives, they also have no clue, so they keep on asking the same questions, right? So this is the agenda. So I'll tell you why we need to do this rewrite. It has to do with Java. And what is a handset? Some of you may not be familiar with that. And what is a paradox? And some of my lessons that I went through going through this. I'm a Go beginner, so be gentle, don't kill me, right? So yeah, if you're Malaysian, congratulations. Yeah, so a new harapan, right? So unexpectedly, you got a new government, but still the parliament website is still the old version. But there's a new harapan in the sense that you actually have a new category of documents available to you on the website. So previously in parliament, the ones you see a member representative on TV, you see them asking and debate. So those are sort of your spoken question and answers. They call it soalan lisan, right? So previously, you can get it from your parliament. This is a typo. Previously, only the spoken questions were in there, and basically for written questions, which is actually about maybe 80%, 90% of the questions. So in a session, might have about 500 or so questions. So those are actually published as a big physical book, right? So it's somebody's job to print out all the questions from a digital source, staple it, put it on your member representative desk, and most of the time they don't even read it. So fortunately, we have our good MP on Keming who got his minions to reverse engineer the thing. So we take a physical book. Okay, we don't do it. His minions break out the page, scan each page in there, and then it basically sends to us as a huge PDF. So in the previous iteration of this code, which you can still find, we basically use that to split up the question answers. Why we do this? I'll show you what we have in our paradox. But basically, at least with the new government, one definitely changed. And this is the only place you can find it. If you go through the menu, you cannot find it, so bad UX. So you have to go to the front page, click on this, you have this huge document every parliament session. So once per session, they will have this posted. So you'll see it's about 500 over questions in there. And since we don't have to have the encoding, decoding like in the JSON kind of stuff, so data loss is not as bad. So it's much clearer and much cleaner. Maybe I'll show you what it looks like. if I can find my cursor. So this one is actually an example of soalan lisan. So this is actually what they actually asked during the the televised session, right? So this is just, let's say, 10% of it. So every day previously they will actually have this printed out. So I think this one is part of the older ones. No, actually it's the newer one, so 2019. So you see here now they actually have a cover. One thing they're still missing is like who actually attended the meeting, but that's another problem. Right, so so imagine you have a big bunch of this PDF and you're going to try to break it down into per questions, right? So sometimes they have 1 page per question, sometimes 2, sometimes 5, right? So the goal of Go Paradox is to break it up. So why are we needing to break it up? So that it goes to our website, paradox.sinaproject.org. So you can use that. Think of it as a CMS or content management and search engine for your parliamentary documents, question and answer, right? So previously, before we had Paradox, basically those member of parliaments researchers, those poor researchers, open up a big PDF, do Control F to try search for topics. So at the very least, in our previous iteration, this one was done in 2016, written in Java and a lot of regular expression. As you know, PDF is not structured, right? So it's a bit of a pain. So in my first iteration, I do it in a naive way. I use the iText library. So one document is like one huge, multi-line text. Actually, 1 page. So and then we try to look for the keywords of detecting the start and stop of questions. And since the previous one where they have the scanning, sometimes you'll see like pencil marks, pen marks, and things like that. So it gets a bit trickier. So again, in the newer one, it's much cleaner. So I was quite happy if I just had 80% success rate. So you can still run this. I don't remember how to run it anymore. I'm not a Java person. We use NetBeans, long live NetBeans, the best editor for Java. Yeah, so you can still use it, but yeah, there are some issues, which I think, okay, not fully yet, but I think I'll be addressing some of this in Go Paradox. Right, so now it's 2019, right? So I was working on different project using Go as well. I'll show you later on. But basically, now that we got Go, so yeah, I say, okay, why not try it in Go and see what are the available items, so I can get my hands dirty working on an actual project. So I don't know whether I'm using it the right way, but yeah, this is on lessons learned later on. But basically,
are those test real?
Partially. So you can see it. Yeah, it's yeah, very low coverage, but I just generated, so it's still empty. So that'll be one of the actions later on. But yeah, so basically, I sort of tried to model the concept. So this was after attending GopherCon and the workshop, so very excited, and try to use some of the concept that you learned there. So I found out that it's like internal, so you can throw all your rubbish in there without needing to worry about it, maybe. So yeah, I tried to do some structuring. We'll go through each of these pieces per concept. So basically, I went through many layers as I sort of break apart from a PDF to a structured format structure. Right. So for the first portion of it is basically a raw PDF. So previously in Java I had an iText. So the question now would be like, okay, what's the equivalent PDF libraries to extract out the text? So I thought the first one that I found, which seems to be quite nice, PDF CPU. I thought that one would have the implementation, but in fact when I looked at it, they say like, again, if you print out the raw PDF context values, it's like some gibberish kind of stuff, right? So the text is actually encoded in there in the sort of structure, but fortunately there is a standard library. I think who's that guy, RSC? This one is somewhat of a fork of it that implemented the sort of like text output. Right, so basically, if you saw just now the question and answers, one keyword you want to try look out for like soalan or some form of soalan. So it's not always in the same order. Sometimes they might have some extra kind of stuff, right? So this time around, instead of using regular expression, with this library, I found out there's like two ways you can parse your PDF. One is what you would expect as you see visually. That means they actually can have a X and Y style coordinates, right? So again, PDF is not really a structured one. So, but in this case here, they do have X and Y, which sort of corresponds to what you see sort of visually, right? So this one was the implementation I will use. So in this case here, in my code, I use this concept of PDX same line, so that basically all lines, or rather all words in the same line, I will use that with a regular expression analysis to do a simple find of all these keywords. And 7 is just arbitrary, but I know that basically the soalan is always closely at the top, right? So it doesn't always get it correct, but so far it's in the test seems to be okay. The other way that you can actually do it is this called PDF text same styles. This one will be useful in my future addition to this project, because basically if you see the documents written by Parliament, they use things like square brackets or bolding or different styles to indicate like a person or a title or let's say action. They say throw a chair. They might have a throw a chair bold, right? Yeah, right. So yeah, I mean, if you guys don't know what's the answer, it's basically a person in there watching parliamentary. Well, we're not as exciting as Taiwan where they're punching people, but if somebody stands up and insult, they will say, okay, bangun, and then insult, right? So they do try to put in there. Yeah. So you see the stenographer, she'll be sitting there in front there, right? Yeah. So basically, here in the handset, you get a blow to blow. So actually, I have a previous one where we try to split up the dialogue, but so that will be actually a future project. We try to break it up into a structured one. Then you can do your nice website, put their face, they say this to the face. So previously it was very hard, but with these two sort of things that I found in this library, now we can actually try to differentiate because let's say when they don't call your MP their name, they call them by their area, Kampa or something like that, right? So when you have all these different style change, it might be indication that, okay, this is an important thing. So you might try to match that. Okay, Kampa always come out, so it could be this guy's area or title. But anyway, it's digressing. So basically, in the first style or rather in the first layer of Go Paradox, is pretty much taking the PDF, and I'm only interested in sort of the top 7 lines, and then we actually extract that out.
I have an idea. You can actually make a chatbot out of
Yeah, you can. You can play a video or whatever, something.
I mean, like, imagine if you ask a question and then they can answer you.
Correct. So I mean, you might be able to even analyze, what's the word that somebody says most often. So once I have these 7 lines, I actually do a regular expression kind of stuff to split up into what I call a plan. So that means they will run through your whole document. So in the full written one, they will have like 500 questions. So there's like over 1,000 pages to run through those, and it tries to recognize, okay, what's the question number, your page number, and start and end. So here I use sort of the public so that I can sort of marshal unmarshal to YAML. I'm sure I'm abusing it some way, but basically when it goes through this first time, it actually uses and sort of persist this into the next stage. So rather than in the previous program, I sort of do that in like a single round. This time around, I split it into sort of like 3 layers. So each layer I could actually somewhat write a test, or at least you can run each areas with some testing in there. And then I just attach some few other metadata like Parliament sessions, the Hansard type. At the moment, it's quite manual. We actually have to indicate that in the command line, but in future one, we will try to automatically detect. So once we have a plan, okay, that means you have all the questions, we know where the page start and stop, and that's where now you can do the splitting. Right, so remember my original libraries that I mentioned. So this PDF CPU is pretty comprehensive. They actually have quite a lot of tests for all the different versions of the PDF version 1.4, 1.7, which can be good or bad. So I actually encountered a few errors because the PDF created by Parliament, it basically doesn't fit the standards. So because the PDF CPU's test is so good that it basically just craps out because it's not following. So the document says it's 1.4, but it uses 1.7 features or something like that. Right, so I had to report to the author of PDF CPU. Unfortunately, he's quite responsive, and he will actually put in. I mean, he won't really fix it. It's basically we have sort of like a more loose matching, right? So they will be not so strict. You can actually pass it with a way. So remember earlier on, I actually had already had a plan, so I would save that and persist that. I'll show you what it looks like later on. But basically, once I can persist that, then I can actually, in a later step, run the execution of the split, and then thus you actually have the output, which I try to make it as similar as the previous version as possible. Once that happens, it goes into the next phase. My colleague Kyril is the one running our Paradox CMS. He will do whatever magic to upload that into the system, and because we have the text extracted out in here, okay, not really have the text extracted out. As long as you split it in, there's an underlined text in the PDF. So the CMS will be able to just index it, and then you can actually search it and do tagging. But that's part of the clone system that's powering our CMS. So since this time around, I sort of like built it bottoms up. So for every layer, traditionally I would just write like from CLI and then write the comments in. So currently now, because I sort of like split it up and doing through a few iterations, the CLI was basically just the last step. So actually, sort of at least for the first time for me, I don't write tests that often, but yeah, Go at least I can write a test sort of. So all other language I feel to write a test, so Go partially write a test. So basically, I could run basically a split, a plan and split actually without through the CLI. You can run it through a test actually. So this one is sort of just the final veneer on top, where whatever input you put in here is just to form the values of my configuration struct, and it actually calls the public API. So there's just a few commands that are exposed. So it matches with your CLI. You do a plan, you do a split. I've not implementing the reset. Yeah, so nothing fancy. So all the things are hidden in here. So all the implementation is actually under the internals folder. So in here to the users, you can just call it. Yeah, I don't do it the right way yet. I put panics everywhere, so I have to clean that up.
No, it's not necessarily the right way. It's my preferred way.
So some of the lessons I sort of went through going through this. Yeah, so I did try the internals. I didn't know about it previously. So, but yeah, that was one of the concept that they brought up in the workshop. So I was trying it out. So it was useful for me to sort of like, okay, play around. So you can just put everything public without because when it's inside your internal package, right, nobody else can import it outside of it. So in your test or whatever, you can still call it internally. So we can look at some of the things. The way I split the things will be like some tests and some, I call it, I guess, integration part of tests, whereas the sort of the so-called public API. But all these are still internal. It cannot be actually used outside of the handset package. All these are inside the handset package. So that was useful as I was iterating through it. So like some of the plan or split functionality was originally inside the internals, but then later on I found out it's like, okay, it didn't make sense. So I was able to refactor and split those out into. So the splitter was a bit more convoluted early on, but because I started in the internal there, then later on when I see it, okay, it doesn't really belong inside, I was able to extract that out.
Sometimes people use internal to test their API before letting it.
Yeah, so you don't have to commit. You can actually start your public API in the internal first, and then if let's say it's stabilized enough, then you can actually move it without actually needing to change any part of the at least not much of the code, because it would just be the public. So you just move it, on the outside. But you can still put it inside the same Hansard, let's say Hansard package. Yeah, so in that workshop, I learned about the test data as a place you can store stuff, and the Go build, I guess I won't actually go inside there. I don't have that much things in there yet, but I'm planning to put in more sample PDFs. So for example, a few PDFs that were problematic is like some of the pages will have like output that comes out in rune value, so my regular expression doesn't work. So I will try to put in some samples in there. I haven't solved it yet. If you guys know any way to bypass that, that means normal regular expression I can find soalan, but then don't know why for page 1 and 2 is like in rune.
Always in rune.
No, only a few cases. So I don't know what processing happened in there, but that actually caused it to fail, basically, or at least it will bypass that thing. Yeah, so this is also the first time I saw you use temp directory in my test, so I didn't know about it. So you can run this to generate your unique temporary directory to, let's say, store your output, and then you can run your test output to check, let's say, against a sample. And then basically I use in your package name you can put like the underscore test, right, to separate your namespace. So then basically that forces you to call your API as though you are a user of that API. So remember, even though your API is inside internal, when you call it internally, it will you can only call the public one. So again, that sort of helps you a bit to test a bit whether the API makes sense or not. I didn't get to use this that much because I just used the IDE to generate the table test. Nice. Yeah, so but I was made aware of this Go CMP from Google. So apparently their diff, they will check for you and have like a nice universal diff kind of stuff. So you can give it like a arbitrary complex object, and it will pretty print a diff of the object structure.
Is that comparing to JSON or something?
It can be any object. So yeah, because remember, whether it's JSON or YAML or whatever, it comes into a Go struct. So let's say you have test result saved somewhere in YAML, you can unmarshal it, and then your output, you can just run this Go compare, and then they will actually do a very deep analysis and have a pretty print going out. So in my future tests, I will change some of my tests to try to use this. Yeah, so for this project, I did manage to use at least a very basic Go mod, the new module kind of stuff. So yeah, so it's yeah, no more Go path needed, right? I put it anywhere. But one thing that bit me was I didn't know you had to run go get-u to get the latest. So I was running with the older version 0.123, even though when I write, I always thought go mod tidy will update everything for you, but apparently not. So you have to run go get-u and it will get it to you.
Also be careful with like Sina, the capitalized one.
Oh yeah, so it should be all small, right? Yeah.
Because Mac OS, the file system actually is not case sensitive.
I thought Mac is case sensitive, right? Only Windows is case insensitive, right?
So Mac is case sensitive.
Oh really?
The
Okay.
problem is that in certain packages, when you actually import these things, some of them capital, some of them
Yeah, small.
that's
Yeah.
when you actually get
The problem, right?
Previously, there were a few major packages that are using this method.
Yeah.
And they caught packages like the build server doesn't know how to run it.
Oh, okay.
If it's Linux, but on Mac it's fine.
So everything small, even though in the original repo is capital, or do we have to rename?
Or everything big.
Oh, everything big. Okay. Okay. I will try that. Yeah, so nothing too fancy, but at least I've not tried the more dependencies of dependencies. So it's not as realistic yet so far. So what next? Yeah, more tests. Yeah, mine is very little, but at least getting started.
How is the data from the actual PDF? Is it readable when you actually extract the text?
No. So when you extract, when you use that PDF library, they can have like an extract text. So you come out in text, but you can also extract it out in sort of content form. So they will have, because your PDF will actually have a style and value, right? So like I showed earlier in the PDF, one way you can extract it out is I have two views of the PDF. I take out the text, and one view of it, I show it as like, okay, who are those on the same line? So it's just an array of your strings, right? So
I had cases where, again, maybe not the PDF, where every single text is means a line or something like that. So
oh, right.
It's all single.
It could be, yeah. I mean, yeah. So I mean, I basically just use the x and y value. So it could be that, let's say in that case, the x and y could be different, and it will be sort of considered miscalculated. So that's definitely a possibility. Yeah. So in PDF, there's no guarantee what you look like.
I don't know. I think it was OCR and generated.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
They scan like this.
Yeah.
So the line.
Yeah, so the block, yeah, because I mean PDF is like a PS is like a programming language, you know, so you can actually have 45 degrees, 90 degrees, the text can be up to down, right? So in here, again, the new ones are pretty clean. So
interface with the tesseract.
oh yeah, this doesn't have that, but yeah. OCR. So fortunately, they have all the sort of the OCR done for you, so that's quite good.
I thought you're gonna use some OCR.
Oh no, I mean that makes it even harder. So that's one level before this thing. So in here you already have the text.
Right now, at least you got the text,
Yeah.
not the quotation.
So just for your information, Malaysian government not so clever. When they redact, the text is still under there.
It's just a black.
Yeah, it's a black mark. It's just a layer. So when you export out, I use this library to export out the text. Ah, there's the text. Yeah. So pro tip, yeah, use your PDF libraries. So yeah.
Runes, are they corrected?
I'm not sure. I mean, so far most of it is text. The one in Rune, my regular expression doesn't match.
Because there's a string version of regex, right?
So I'm not sure on that one. So
if
yeah.
If it's a correct rune, then probably.
Yeah.
Or it's badly encoded.
Could be. So but let's say like page 1 and 2, they will have this bad encoding. Then after that is okay. So I'm not sure how to get to that way and what is the way. So far I just use the simple regular expression. This my regulation I use here compared with the earlier one. It's so simple, right? It's just so Alan here, star, okay, done. so much simple. The previous one I had to try to find new lines. Okay, going to the next page. It's crazy.
Do you think it'd be easier work if you like volunteer to like write some kind of tool, but then key in this stuff into an API?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, basically, in most of our works, is like a parallel kind of track. One is you show them how to do it correctly. Then if you got champions in there, they hopefully will be able to fight for you. And of course, if they are open, right, we will always be able to work with them. But you know, humans are always fearful, scared. So even when we were dealing with Selangor and Penang, right? So you got champions in there, but even that it takes, like the Selangor government's portal is pretty good, right? They got all the PDFs, they have all the detailed items, right? So, but even when I ask them to, okay, you got the official PDF, which is the official one, you can mark it official, right? Then you ask them to release like the Excel sheet or the Word doc. Oh, I'm scared.
The story is,
are you going to manipulate it? You make us look bad and things like that.
The story is the equivalent effort in UK is that they spend 10 to 15 years with lobbying, with working with them, and also with people joining the government in order to make sure they actually export XML.
Yeah.
I mean, a proper formatted, computer understandable format.
Yeah.
So that kind of effort involved.
Yeah. So here's more the relationship, but you gotta build a thing and educate them. So I think I heard from the Open Australia guys, 7 years. Pretty much you need your friend inside parliamentary library to say, hey, do this.
Joining the government to do
export out in XML, and it still breaks, but it's fine.
You know what to do next election.
Well, I mean, again, we are always open to work with any parties who are open on that. So just like our maps, all our data are all published in public and under your open I guess database style license. So any of the data you have here, and I'll show one of my other projects, you can actually use that as open open data. So we have another project called Puppet, which is your people organization. So The next step was to be analyze more of the content. Now that I've split it up into questions, I can go into each content and break it up, like who's asking it and things like that. And now that we have more capabilities to tell, like, okay, this is a change in style, so it might be marking that it's a title or somebody's name, then we might finally be able to at least pull out a bit more metadata. The dream one is basically that actually a lot of tables inside. So I've seen a few Python tools, so yeah, I might use some Python tools to try to extract out the tables. So there are a lot of gold mines of data actually all trapped in this huge amounts of PDFs. But at least this one would help, once the Parliament new session comes in, all the written and written questions and spoken questions, we should be able to analyze. I think looking at the output that comes from here, I probably can get 90% over. It's much cleaner in there. But of course, yeah, the project GitHub repo is there, so yeah, please try it out. I did a 1.0 release. You can try it out, but yeah, otherwise you can just compile it yourself. Feel free to submit more bug reports or PDFs that are causing problems. I'll show you this new OSC data project I'm working on. So this was a project before I do this. It's still ongoing. This was for the Open Data Day project. So in Malaysia, actually, we have something called OSC, one-stop shop. So every local authority in Malaysia uses this system. So there's actually a lot of data in there. Any things you want to extend your house, you want to build a new pool, you want to convert your shop lot to something else, all data are put into this small tiny machine. Don't try to scrape it too much, it will collapse with just a slight thin sole. Yeah, so don't need to push the server anymore. The data is now all available for you. You can go and grab this repo and go crazy. I update it once every week. We can probably use some of your JSON structure kind of stuff in here. So I haven't really had like a state check yet, so it's more just getting new data values. But you can actually see, like here, Cadangan, Ubah Suai. So this covers the whole of Malaysia and MPPJ. Yeah, so this one I decided just to store it the raw JSON format until I want to process it later on. So yeah, so yeah, check this out. Every new data every week you can pull the source code as well. From this OSC system. So basically, as you are, let's say, applying to let's say build a pool in your house, you have to go through things like fire checks. Yeah, so if you're building a pool, you should appear here at some point. No, anything you do at your local authority that you need to get an approval.
Cut a tree,
you want to cut a tree, you want to expand the road, you want
public data.
It is public data, it's just not accessible, so now you have it in structured data, somewhat, yeah, so it's nice YAML, but yeah, you should be able to unmarshal it, should be pretty clear. Yeah, all local authority in Malaysia, so in the whole of Malaysia, everybody uses this OSC v3, which is probably 15 years old, and it's like ancient, you tap it a bit, crash and die. Anyway, system down. Yeah, so please don't kill the server, just take from here. So we have multiple levels. This one is like the detailed form of the approvals and things like that. Again, the raw JSON format, you can extract it out later. Oh no, have a look at this. Kalau 80 luar tak ada lagi height.
So there are only two data packages. Laporan pencemaran sungai release. Where is the rest?
Where is it? What do you mean? Oh no, scraper. What is it? Oh, scrapers or CV3 data. Yeah. You can see the diff if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I know what you did, Abiru. I know what you did. What? I know what you did. What I did? I don't know.
Okay, let's see whether the demo works or not. Let's see if the demo works. Well, the demo gods shine on me. Okay, so you got the binary which you download from the site. You got your PDFs here. Right, so run the plan first. Okay, I guess before you do that, this one uses the Google's sub command. So I didn't use a more comprehensive Viper or whatever, or Cobra or whatever. Yeah.
This is Google's.
Google sub command lah. So it's just on top of flags, just a bit of layer on top of it. Nothing fancy. I tried to use the Boolean one. It gets weird results, so I just put everything string. So yeah, it tells you a bit. You can ask your help for that. So let's say you say, yeah, then they will give you some example or whatever that you can do. So yeah, so at the moment I still have to type it manually, but next time I want to like detect the front page and then fill in some of this metadata automatically. Still very slow. Ignore the errors. Is there? It works. So it's pretty slow. If you try to run on the full written one. Yeah, no test written for that. So anyway, so once that happens, then basically remember I had the structure earlier on. So I just unmarshaled that items in here. So yeah, so you got a split file. Yeah, if you know, I'm a fan of HashiCorp. So in Terraform we use a plan before we execute. So here is your plan. Yeah, so one way you can do this is that certain of it they might detect it wrongly, so you can still do your changes here for the plan before you actually execute the split.
What is question number?
Question number.
What is question number string?
Yeah, it's easy.
It's easy.
Okay. Split.
So that is like the work list. The demo is like the work list.
Yeah, it's a plan. So the plan for you. If it's mistaken, you can still modify. Like if you run it for the written one, they detect the front page as a question 10,843 or something like that. So you can remove that lah. Right? So you just split it. It will, based on your file name, it will try to look for your plan lah. If you don't have it, it will auto create for you. Yeah, so split. Oh, no, not here. So split out here. Yeah, so nothing fancy. Yeah, so it just breaks it out based on your what it detects. Let's try to open and see whether it actually works. Pick a question. 42. Did it work? Ooh. See, so now that we have this metadata, we can further dive into this data and try to pull out. Okay, see, they always borrow this. So who asked? What is question that Menteri Ewa Economy asked? So if we can extract this out later on, then we can match them. Then okay, who was this guy at this time? Who was this Menteri at this time? Let's say, right? So remember the Menteris have different time range, right? Yeah, so let's say depending on scandal, then make sure you match with the right guy. Right, so again, you'll see they will have a certain pattern, right? The constituent they represent, they always have like squares. It's not standard. So like even like soalan, sometimes they have soalan something, sometimes no things. But compared with the previous one, it's much easier, right? You don't see any pencil mark, no pen mark. Yeah, so regular expression, relatively simple, just one small function. The rest of it is just marshalling, unmarshalling, structuring, things like that. So yeah, question answer, it works. Incredible.
What's the 1,000 plus PDF to?
Oh, it took I think about like probably 5 minutes, so it's a bit slower. So if I dare it, I can do concurrency, but then you have to try to patch it together. Technically, it should be possible.
It's IO bound.
Yeah. So we should be able to run more concurrency, but then the harder point will be if you don't find the right point, then you might have some questions in this batch and not in this batch. So the simple implementation, I just scan through the whole thing. Yeah, but might be possible. You probably need to do some more merging, some sort like try to do some fancy merge. Yeah.
What if the original file contains some diagram, tables, or photos?
Yeah, so you won't have it. Yeah. Although with the library, you can actually search for image and export that out. But let's say you have an image of a table, you cannot extract out the table, right? But there are other projects. In fact, I think they have people do their masters or PhDs on trying to extract tables from the thing. So that's actually a very valuable one because a lot of the data statistic that the government says they don't have, you can actually pull from all this text. Yeah, text basically. Yeah, yeah.
That's the first step.
That's the first step. Yeah, yeah. So I'll try it for the tables as well, and of course, there's this project called Malaya. They do. Yeah, yeah. So I don't know how to interface with that. I tried that previously, but I'm not really Python guy, and I guess NLP and all those kind of stuff. Not. But I mean, but definitely the library at least got all these are in Bahasa, so we can definitely put in there and see okay what's the sentiment and things like that. Who say these things. You might even be able to extract out the actual person because their training set would at least have some of these common words. So previously, all the libraries the closest you get is like Indonesia type library, which is not that useful. So with the Malaya tools, yeah, definitely in the roadmap probably at some point. Or if you know how to use it, you can let me know.
So basically, the package that you are using two things: the OCR part and producing the.
Oh no OCR. It's OCR already. Okay. So the whole PDF is just one huge PDF. It has OCR already. Yeah, mine is just recognizing keyword and splitting it. So recognizing keyword to do the planning, where's the start stop, and then you do the actual split. Yeah, if you see the underlying one, they will actually already have a text. If you don't have it, then it's slightly more difficult in the sense you first have to run a OCR. It's not impossible, but it's slightly more difficult. If you see, then.
Because this is very close to
the wall. Because they have the Word document. So they run their Word document, convert to PDF, done. So it has all these things. Yeah. So even previously, lucky on Camins, I think they got the bigger scanner, so they tear out the book, but of course sometimes it's a bit curved, but at least it's still OCR as well. So sometimes the OCR is not so good. So but here is very crisp, solid. You literally have everything because it's a source, pretty much. So much easier.
The next step, the person typing it to a web app. So then you go to the database.
Yeah. No, I mean actually the stenographer just type is should auto convert to the API. It's not rocket science, I mean, but it's somebody's job, so to print out and put it. Yep. Here it is. Any questions? So yeah, please feel free to file issues.
What do you guys use to index the question and answer?
Plone, I think they're using Solar, right? I think it's built into it. Yeah. So the Plone CMS system. Go Python. Yeah. I don't know how to run that, so that one is all Kairon. I just give him this one. Yeah. So even in the previous one, I just give him the source code, and he just runs it with the latest one as it comes in. Solar is the old school one. I like it because it's simpler. No, Elasticsearch is more lower. Elasticsearch you can do anything. Solar is more old school. It's like a Tomcat. You fill in the server XML. Yeah, simpler I think, but it's the same base Lucene engine. But you don't get as much flexibility as your.
Are they still based on Lucene or they split up?
Is it? I don't. I've not catch up. I mean, most of them are Lucene at the core, but it's just the layer on top. Like Solar, they didn't have clustering, then they had to layer Solar Cloud on top of it. So Zookeeper, whereas Elasticsearch is built natively, right? I think.
You can get it work like you.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Thank you.
You can see a live Golang project.
Yay.
Like more tests.
Oh yeah, I'll be running more tests, definitely.
Auto-generated tests.
Yeah. There you can see, it's all just auto-generated. No, I don't. I just test out the output in Python.
What are you using now? You're using Go?
Golang.
Oh, Golang.
Yeah.
How?
So like my integration one is the stupid one, right? So
Too huge. Wow, the font size.
yeah, so most of it is just structure only. I have to fill it in. So yeah, so it's fake at the moment. Yeah, so I sort of split it out. So those like integration tests.
They generate those for you?
Yeah, I mean the table structure, the empty one, then you got to fill in the test case out.
You know, VS Code.
VS Code also can do
I
it.
don't know if you can do that.
Yeah, so
I show you.
your standard table test kind of stuff, VS Code or Golang is simple. They generate it. Of course, what to fill into the structure, but I mean, at least with Go is like, at least it gets into my head now. Is like, okay, that's how you can test without the CLI. Just do like a struct kind of stuff, fill in the values, call it to your function, and then it works. Right?
How's Gotland's performance?
I was using this because this is the only one that can open HashiCorp projects. VS Code just crashed. The CPU going like, I've not tried lately, but yeah.
So it works with Go modules nicely.
Go modules, yeah. So they had Go modules for quite a while already. But I think they're not using Go please yet, from what I understood from GoPukan Singapore.
Yeah, they're using Go. Okay. Bonus.
Yeah, you can watch GoPukan actually. So.
Jeez.
Maybe you'll see us there. Maybe not. I think they have Go please there somewhere.
Go please.
Yeah, the fourth one, PLS.
Yeah, I think my editor. Oh.
Level support. Yep. Yes, that's it.
VS Code calls a lot of people.
Solve the problem. But the experience is really bad for users.
Break it.
It makes sense that if the
Break it.
Yeah, because they did the oval code works.
Yeah, it keeps on breaking.
Yeah.
So how do you break? Especially smaller editors, you don't need to support everything. You just plug in the Go please, and use the language server protocol. Problem solved. Except of course, use a lot of CPU and crash your system. Purple gopher. We managed to win this. Go Malaysia! So
it's the Malayan.
Malayan gopher in Malayan. Last year they give for free. This year we had to fight for it.
How do you fight?
We had to answer questions. So Team Malaysia won one at this. Go please. So it's pronounced go please.
Alpha? Still Alpha?
Yeah, Alpha. Of course, crashing.
You have to go to the website and you want to.
Super ready for you.
Yeah, I saw. It's really unstable. It's really unstable, yes.
It's working pretty well, but basically we still have a lot of outstanding.
Is that what?